afternoon. Welcome, everybody. I think this is going to be a fun one today. We have John here from Therapy Gardens, and he's going to do some local food trivia. Thank you, John.
Thank you. And thanks, everybody, for coming out. Hello. Everybody's high and dry, fairly dry. Um, so when I was coming over here today, I thought for a moment, I saw the news that Bill Belichick was retiring. And when I saw that, and I'm coming to Walpole, it made me think of Raymond Berry. And made me think of a century ago, I was listening to him on the radio, and he was talking about, I guess he lived in Walpole while he coached the Patriots, and he was going on and on about how great Walpole was. He was painting it like a Norman Rockwell picture. And the phrase that stuck in my mind was, he was saying, if you don't live in Walpole, you're just camping out. So I thought that was pretty good. Yeah, I thought it was pretty good. So we're going to do local food trivia today. Before I get started, first of all, if you like this today, I'll put a bug in your ear about another trivia workshop that we've created. Another one that we've created is based on famous people from Massachusetts, famous Bay Staters. And the way that we do that one is we show a fairly obscure quote first about a person. So I might show, for example, a quote first that says, "Old age ain't for sissies." And then if nobody gets that, nobody discovers which famous Bay Stater said that, then I'll share a more familiar quote, which would be, in this case, "I'd like to kiss you, but I just washed my hair." Does anybody know who said those two things? That was Betty Davis. And she's from Lowell. So that one's kind of fun. We do everybody from Betty Davis to... They're both Betty Davis. Those are Betty Davis. Yeah. We do everybody from Betty Davis to Robert Kraft to Lizzie Borden to Ben Franklin. It's really a lot of fun. So if you like this one, we'll tee up that one. Before I get started, I'll tell you a little bit about Therapy Gardens and Senior U. First of all, can everybody hear me? Okay. And does everybody already know the story of Therapy Gardens and Senior U or no? Okay. Therapy Gardens was started a couple of years ago by a guy who is a former high school principal. And his original idea was to bring the therapeutic benefits of gardening to seniors in Massachusetts. So what we were doing originally was bringing around elevated garden beds and dirt to different senior centers and trying to encourage seniors who hadn't already gotten into gardening to start to garden. And as we were doing that, we started to do workshops about gardening. And the workshops were so much more popular than the actual gardening that gradually became everything that we did. So now we do exclusively programming workshops. And since the subject matter has expanded beyond gardening, we now do stuff as diverse as we have one on artificial intelligence. We have one on UFOs that I thought was a little crazy, but is a lot of fun, one of the more popular ones. All sorts of different subjects. So we created another brand called Senior U, an umbrella that will cover the workshops that aren't necessarily gardening related. So now we do all sorts of different stuff. We're in over 70 cities and towns right now. I'm sorry, we're in over 90 cities and towns now. And we go to a lot of libraries as well. So we've grown pretty rapidly, and we visit a lot of folks on a regular basis. I know we've been here before. I'm not sure how many times, but we've been here before a few times. Does anybody have any questions about that before we get started? Anything? No? Okay. So local food trivia. Let's see what we have here. One of the first mass-produced soft drinks was created in Lowell, Mass. Coincidentally, also where Betty Davis is from. In 1876, purchased by Coke in 2018. I'm still regionally popular. And there's one person who is not allowed to answer this question. This is a woman I spoke with when I first came in, and we already talked about the answer. She already knew the answer. Moxie. Moxie, exactly. Does anybody still drink Moxie? Oh. Yeah, yeah. I had, we used to have a couple of cans of it that we would bring around with us, and evidently they do still sell a fair amount. I mean, when you look at it, it also, it's got a lot, it still has a ton of sugar in it. But you're saying it's not as bitter as the original? Oh, wow. It's weird. I don't even know if people know the word anymore, like younger folks. I mean, Moxie, the word independent of the soda, used to be popular too. Very popular in Maine. Oh, wow. A lot of Moxie in Maine. Yeah. No. Oh. Next question. Found in Beantown. Most people buy me in cans, but I'm even more delicious when homemade. Baked beans. There we go. The old Boston baked beans. They keep telling us we should eat more beans, that they're really good for you. Closely related to baked beans, just add some bread. It's a Boston thing. And before you shout out what I think you're going to shout out, remember, look at the question here. Closely related to baked beans, just add some bread. So this is baked beans plus some bread. No, brown bread, there's no baked beans by themselves with brown bread. What if you have beans and bread together, what might you be able to make? Oh, what was that? It's the baked bean sandwich. I usually get that reaction. There aren't a lot of smiles that came up when I showed that one. Do we have any baked bean sandwich fans? Anybody eats baked bean sandwiches? Oh, we've got one. We do have one. There we go. I'm from Fall River, a bit messy, and use a common takeout item to make this sandwich. And we do these presentations all over the state, and I can tell you that once I get to the north and to the west in Massachusetts, very few people can answer this. If I'm near Fall River, just about everybody matter-of-factly gives me the answer. What was that? No? This is a sandwich that you make with a common takeout item that they really like in Fall River. And I'll give you a clue. The takeout item is from a Chinese restaurant. There we go. It's the old chow mein sandwich. And I don't know what that looks like. So, yeah. So I take it we don't have a lot of fans of the chow mein sandwich. Okay, we've got a few. Somebody's mother-in-law used to make this all the time. Okay. One more sandwich I'm found throughout Massachusetts, but especially on the North Shore. What's the North Shore? I grew up on the South Shore, and whenever we went to the North Shore, it almost seemed like we were going to a different country. No. This is something, and it's not like you can't get this on the South Shore. You can, but usually it's coming in the form of a sub, and usually what's put in it is not freshly cut. I'll give you one clue, and you'll get this immediately. Kelly's. Oh, there you go. Super beef, North Shore roast beef sandwich. Okay. Rhode Island and Manhattan have their versions, but I'm the king. Okay. Yes, the clam chowder. So Rhode Island and Manhattan have their versions. How's the Manhattan different? Tomato-based. How's the Rhode Island different? There we go. We got one person in back. Clear. There's no cream base for the Rhode Island chowder. So I mean, most of us who are used to that hardiness of the clam chowder here, if you get clam chowder in Rhode Island, you might be disappointed. It's a little thinner. Our first store was in Hingham, and this jumps, Mr. Wheeler, who founded the company, also was into retail. So as you saw in small print at the start, we're including a few stores in this trivia question. Right. There's a number in our name, and we sold good stuff cheap, and I heard it. Building 19. Did people like Building 19? One of the first salvage stores. It was a lot of fun, free coffee. You could go in and see what fell off a railroad truck the week before and convince yourself that you needed it because it was so cheap. Yep. Invented in 1900, I started in Niagara Falls, but moved to Northfield, Mass. I had a popular little rhyme in my television ad. This is, it's a cracker. No. Think of a wheat cracker. This is the Triscuit. And I still like Triscuits. I don't really remember that box, but yeah. And I grew up in the South Shore, as I said, and I'm 62 almost. And in growing up, my mother started to watch Julia Child on TV. So she started to try to make these different things as far as food went. And one night she announced that we were going to have prune whip for dessert. The prune whip was not good. Wasn't really good at all. She tried a few other different things, though, that were good. So from the sea, you can find me throughout New England. Rhode Island makes a good one with a funny name. So this is a preparation of something that you take from the ocean. It's a specific preparation of something that was common in New England, is common in New England to cultivate from the sea. And Rhode Island has a special name for theirs that's really popular. That's what it comes from, but what's the preparation? What if you bake it and put some stuff in it? The old stuffies. Stuffed quahogs, a.k.a. stuffies. And everybody knows what a quahog is? Okay. Made with cornmeal, I originated with the indigenous people of North America to become an American staple food. Made with cornmeal. No. I heard, who got the Johnnycakes? Okay. Possibly comes from Johnnycakes, and with that picture with the butter on it, it makes you want to eat one. Does for me. Does anybody eat Johnnycakes still? Made from cornmeal? No? Okay. I am a root vegetable that when prepared with sugar elevates my name to the Ivy League. Good guess. No. So this is a preparation of a root vegetable dish, and the root vegetable has gotten a lot of press in the last few years as a superfood. And there you go. Oh, so you got the first part of it. So now, if you prepare it with sugar, what's an Ivy League name for this dish? What's that? No. Ivy League name for beets. When you think of the Ivy League, what's the first thing you think of? Where was it? Harvard beets. There we go. Beets cooked in sugar, butter, and vinegar. So my mother, I was speaking when I first came in, my mother just turned 88 recently, and she was trying to figure out how to incorporate beets in her diet because she said, I need to eat a couple of other new things that are really good for you. And she couldn't find anything that she liked, and then she found Harvard beets, and now she says she loves them. Started in Avon in 1970. Children loved this store. We're talking about a retail store. They had a famous rivalry with another kids chain and lost. Nope, good guess. This is the store actually looks like a castle, sort of. Looks like a fortification. What was the name of that child store? It was Child World. There you go. The old Child World. Okay. Created in 1891, I'm named for a city, and I'm filled with fruit. No. Named with, I'm a city, and I'm filled with fruit. The city is just a little west of Boston. There we go. The old Fig Newtons. And again, we have packaging here that I'm not really familiar with, but we've got some cool old boxes. Does anybody still eat Fig Newtons? Yeah. And now they have different stuff to put in them too, right? Raspberry, all sorts of other ones as well. Does anybody eat figs? Okay. Figs are really, really good. You can get most of the good that you would get out of a Fig Newton in a fig without the extra stuff. Fig jam, yeah. Fig jam, good too. A New England staple in the winter, I contain lots of root vegetables and usually one big hunk of meat all in the same pot. No. In the name for this that we're looking for includes the way that you prepare it. That's a clue. And you don't bake it, you don't fry it. No. Oh, there, I got it. From the very back, the boiled dinner. Nice poll. The New England boiled dinner. Thought to have originated with Irish immigrants, particularly near Boston, also known as the boiled ham or shoulder, or the corned beef and cabbage. St. Patty's, exactly. Colorful sugary discs. My name is a shortened version of the New England Candy Company. There we go. This is the Necco wafer. And in presenting this, I've had two different couples in two different towns, true story, come up to me and say that both the couples said that one of their challenges was that one of the two people in the relationship only liked the chocolate Necco wafers, and that the other person had to eat everything but the chocolate Necco wafers. When that happened to me the second time, I really thought I thought somebody was filming me secretly or something. I'm a sweetened, concentrated product and the official beverage of Rhode Island. Everyone else just uses chocolate. There we go. Did everyone hear that? The old coffee milk. Coffee milk. So let me ask you this. If I am from, let's say, Arizona, and I come to Massachusetts, and I come to visit you, and I say, I want to go out and get a milkshake. And I go out someplace, and I order a milkshake, and I get my milkshake, why am I going to be disappointed? Right. So what did I have to order I had to order a frap if I wanted the ice cream. Now, let's say you live in Rhode Island, and I came and visited you. I already heard the answer to this from somebody. What do you have to ask for in Rhode Island, ma'am? A cabinet. Right. A cabinet, because that was evidently where the mixer used to be kept or something. But you're going to get a milkshake without ice cream if you ask just for a milkshake in Rhode Island. And now we're back to, I know you've all been waiting to say this again. And one of the things I've discovered doing this is the secret popularity of brown bread. It seems like we've got tons of brown bread devotees in every town. Do people still eat it? Oh, well, okay. Oh, the only thing, what folks have said about brown bread, the challenge with the brown bread is getting it out of the can. And with a knife? Oh, okay. I've heard other folks say you open both ends and you push it through, or yeah. Okay. There's the old brown bread. I'm more gooey than fluffy, and I started in Somerville around 1917. In the 50s, we had the most state-of-the-art production facility in the country. And I heard from this is the old fluff. And I did read, in reading about this, when they created the new fluff production facility in the 50s, it was arguably the most advanced, food production facility in the world. It just seems like such an unlikely product to have that description, but it was. And people still eat fluff? Oh, wow. So you're eating it with peanut. How else are you eating it? Hot chocolate. Does anybody just eat it out of the jar by itself? Okay. We have a few people who admit to that. Okay. Oh, yeah. Swirl the peanut butter with it in the jar? Oh, yeah. Everyone else calls them sprinkles. We call them jimmies. These are jimmies. This is, Mr. Wheeler's put this in here because some politically correct person said that there was some racial thing having to do with Jimmy. He researched it and thought that there wasn't, but so he added that. I don't know. Named for an island and founded by two guys named Tom, we began selling various items to yacht owners. I used to like their lemonade. They made a lemonade, came in a glass bottle, and then there was a little trivia question under the cap of the bottle from these guys. When you think of what was? There we go at the very back. Nantucket Nectars. These are Nantucket Nectars. I think they've since sold it to one of the big beverage companies, but that was a pretty big locally founded company. An old New England recipe. I'm soft and spicy and made with raisins, and I also like to be left alone. Wow. This is a tough crowd. Yes, you're correct. It is the Hermit. Name possibly from the fact that they can be stored for a very long time. Has anybody made a Hermit in the last year? Oh, wow. We've got a few people that have. Excellent. Yeah, we've got a little Hermit recipe in here, and I'll mention this at the end, but you can get a copy of any of our presentations. I'll show you how. In Boston, we call it a pie, but it's really a cake. And what's the popular spot in Boston where it originated? Does anybody know? There we go, the Parker House. Exactly. Dates back to 1856, before the Civil War, at the Parker House, and it's our official state dessert. Official state dessert is kind of a, but out of curiosity, I looked at other official state stuff. Does anybody know what the official Massachusetts muffin is? No. No. Oh, I heard it. Corn. And it became the official one because I think in the mid-'80s, junior high school students, some school in Boston lobbied the legislature saying because of our history with the Indians and the Pilgrims, that it should be the corn muffin, and they were successful. What's the state fruit? Cranberries. Yeah. Topped with whipped cream and cinnamon. I've been around since the 1600s. Oh, wow. Again, in most places, nobody will get this. Here, as soon as I'm finished talking, I hear the answer. Indian pudding. A version of the British hasty pudding brought here by the colonists. No wheat flour. They use cornmeal or Indian flour, hence the name. And you don't see a lot of Indian pudding now, but oh, okay. Some restaurants, some chefs making it. I'm a chain founded in Quincy, and now it seems like I am everywhere. Here we go. So I mentioned my mother who's 88. Her brother, who is 4 or 5 years younger, they hadn't seen each other in maybe 4 or 5 years, and my uncle announced he was coming up for a visit this summer. And he came up with his wife, my aunt, and it was this whole big deal, and we went out to dinner. And afterwards, he ended up admitting that the real reason why he came was not to see her, but he wanted to go to the original Dunkin' Donuts.
I thought it was in Canton, really, Dunkin' Donuts.
No, Quincy, yeah.
Where did you say it was?
In Quincy.
Oh, thank you.
Yes, yes, yes.
Sorry.
Oh, no. You can still go to the original one, yeah. Free of salt and, well, I should just ask, does anybody else know another, this was at one point the largest restaurant chain in the United States. It also started in Quincy, in Wollaston. Yeah. Free of salt and sugar. I was originally sold in 1867 in Boston and packaged in brown paper bags. I have a big turkey in the box and am extremely popular at Thanksgiving. There we go. Bell's Seasoning. Bell's All Natural Seasoning. Very good. Founded in 1909 in Chelsea, I'm considered a hot dog lover's hot dog. I'm also the Fenway Frank. And I heard this. Let somebody else answer. Come on. I'm kidding. KM. KM is the official Fenway Frank, and it's been around that long. Named after a founding father, I'm not for children. There we go. There we go. Sam Adams Beer. Sam Adams Beer. I mean, ironically, in those days, it was for children. So, I mean, people were aware that before, maybe you have to go back a little bit farther, but before clean water was readily available to everyone, including people coming across in the Mayflower, the kids were drinking beer. Name for a popular dance I started in Cambridge, Mass. One guess was the hula hoop. Nope, not the hula hoop. What was that? There we go, exactly. Very good. There's the Charleston Chew and the Charleston. Does anybody know how to do the Charleston? Wow. Hey, you guys are answering this so quickly. I mean, I'm going to be done so quickly. Maybe if we're done too early, I'll ask some people to do the Charleston for the rest of the group. I started at a little stand in Cranston, Rhode Island in 1948. Kids sell me at stands. And, yep, what kind we heard? Dell's. And are people familiar with Dell's? It is. It's unbelievably good. I had never had one until a couple of years ago, and I had one because I just thought it was regular stuff. I thought it was kind of just like a lemon Slurpee, which you could get anywhere, but they've got little chunks of lemon in it, and I don't know, they must do the ice to a certain consistency. It's wicked good. You should try one. Considered a classic New England summer treat, I've been around since 1947, and I come in small paper cups. There we go. Hoodsies. It's the Hoodsie. And I don't know if it. Did you used to get? Did you get a wooden spoon at some point? I don't know if you still get the wooden spoon or not. So now, do you just have to squeeze it into your mouth now? You don't have a spoon. Started in Worcester in 1882. I used carbonation to make for myself, make a name during Prohibition. Now I have tons of flavors, and I'm sold in grocery stores. Polar. There we go, Polar. I really am going to have to fill with something. You guys are so fast. They're the Polar seltzers. Owned as a co-op of grape growers since 1956, we're mostly known for juices, jellies, and jams, headquartered in Concord. There we go. And there we go for Welch's. What I read about the grape juice, too, was that it was the first time that the Catholic Church started to not use actual wine and move towards the grape juice. Originally created and sold in Boston's first department store, my legendary recipe is made with fresh blueberries. There we go. Everybody's got that one. And we may not know the capital of many countries, but we know the Jordan Marsh Blueberry Muffin. Where can you still get it? Right. But then I've heard people, it's a pretty intense debate as to whether or not it's still like the old one. I mean, nothing is, right? Or very little is. Founded in 1881 in Boston, this department store was known for high-quality fashion and once had 47 stores. They went out of business. There we go. That's Filene's. And do people remember the basement? Remember the basement? So my first job, I went to UMass, and my first job when I got out of school, I worked at Fidelity in Boston, downtown, and I knew a woman that worked over at Filene's, and I would go and visit her on a regular basis. And then if she was busy, I would go down to the basement and look around. And you could see, in those days, I was expected to wear a suit and tie to work, so I would look at the suits, and you would see these suits that cost way too much for me to afford, but you could see when they were going to be marked down. And people remember, if you found something you liked, you'd try and hide it. Until that day when it went, all of a sudden it was like 80% off. And when it was 80% off, it was kind of like a rugby match. It was a lot of, yeah, it was fun. Did I have a hot dog? Oh, I didn't. I don't remember the hot dogs. Oh, wow. The wedding gowns. Oh, the whole family would come in. Yeah, I guess so. I mean, there was probably a lot of money at stake for the discounted wedding gown, right? Yeah. Yes. You got yours there? $49.95. Wow. Very nice. Very nice. Now I'm gratified to get to a question that I'm thinking maybe nobody's going to get this one, which might be. This is a question that I was in Clinton, Massachusetts, and the folks in Clinton who were near Leominster knew this one, but nobody else has gotten it. So this is an obscure potato chip company that's still operating. They were called Leominster Potato Chip Company, and in the 1930s, they had a contest by the workers to rename it, and they renamed it, and it's still, no, it's not Wise, not Lay's, not State Line, not Cape Cod, not Utz, not Utz, not Utz. And because you guys have gotten the other one so fast, I'm just going to wait for a second and see if maybe in the recesses of... So these are potato chips you could, and the only place I've seen them are at like small sub shops in some different places. I don't think any major markets carry them, but they still have a business. Um, no guesses. No guesses. Okay. Here we go. Try some. Try some. So I'm not kidding you. No. Yeah. They still exist. You can still get a bag of Try Some potato chips. What? I've never eaten them. I don't know. My favorite potato chip. I like the Cape Cods, but I also like the regular old Lay's. What do people what do people have for favorites for potato chips? What's a good potato chip? Yes. What's that? Yes, yes, yes. Lay's. I love the Lay's. The Utz? Yeah, yeah. I know a bunch of people that like the Utz. Founded in Connecticut in 1958, based in Braintree, and defunct by 2001. Do you remember Mrs. B? Yes. And I remember well those commercials. They were all over television. Do people remember those commercials and that character? They spent a lot of money in advertising. You're right. Founded as John Pugh and Sons in 1849 in Gloucester, we made headlines for our frozen product. Gorton's. There we go. Gorton's. Do do people still eat Gorton's? Well, we've got a few people that still like the Gorton's, the fish sticks. Now, but I mean, when I think of Gorton's these days, I mean, I think some of the fisheries are so limited here. I wonder where they get their fish. I wonder if they still get them locally. I don't know. Now based in Rutland, Vermont, we were originally in Westminster back in 1828. Certain kind of cracker. There we go. It's the old oyster cracker. But there's no oyster, obviously, in the oyster cracker. On my phone on the way over, I saw that Monday is it's Martin Luther King Day, but it is also National Chowder Day. And Legal Seafoods is selling $1 cups of chowder. So I've penciled that into my schedule. Founded in 1924 by two Greek brothers in Worcester, I'm a personal-sized dessert that comes in a small square box. There, I heard it. The Table Talk Pie. And when I was growing up, I was 8 years old in 1970, and in those days, if you had 35 cents, you could get a lot of candy at the store. I mean, if you had 50 cents, you could almost make yourself sick. And the Table Talk pies were an option then. They were really cheap. I want to say they were a quarter. Yeah. They were good. Do people still eat these? Yeah? Got a few. Originally from West Paris, Maine, this iconic New England brand is popular around the holiday season. The label, it hasn't changed in 50 years, and I can pretty much guarantee you that all of you will recognize the label when we show it. It has just one ingredient. There's only one thing in the can. Mincemeat? Nope. Good guess. Nope. Cranberry sauce? Nope. Nope. Oh, what did I hear? Right. I heard pumpkin. Pumpkin. Nice. It's one pie. One pie for pumpkin. And that label, it seems like most companies these days aren't happy if they don't change the way they're represented, every 6 months, let alone in 50 years. So in 50 years, The label is exactly the same. I mean, I give them a little bit of respect just for that. Founded in 1889 in Detroit, I had lots of locations in Mass. In 77, my name was changed, but it still started with a K. Kmart. Does anybody know what the original Kmart back in Detroit was called? No, it began with a K. The original Kmart back in Detroit was called Kresge. Kresge's. Kresge's. What's that? Oh, you had a Kresge in Boston too? Okay. Before they changed the name. There you go. Founded in Boston in 1925 and named after a bear. I can be smooth or chunky. There we go, Teddy. And I really like Teddy peanut butter. And I was, at one of these I was talking about, I really like it because you can get it with it just has peanuts and salt in it. And it doesn't have the, palm oil and sugar and all of the other things. And as I was talking about that, and I was saying that they sold their peanut butter that way, somebody came up to me and handed me a jar of Teddy's that has all that stuff I don't like in it too. So I guess you still have to look and read the label, but the one that looks like this has just peanuts in it, peanuts and salt. And finally, our last one, first played in Worcester in 1880, this sport was a Saturday morning television staples for years. No. Oh, I just heard something. Bowling. What kind of bowling? Candlepin bowling. If you have a friend who's from the West Coast and in need of some humility, when they're here, take them candlepin bowling. It's a lot harder than regular 10-pin bowling. How did we do? What did we miss? And I also want to, yes, I'm sorry. I was saying also what did we miss in terms of feel free to contribute either through the website or to me personally any things that are local and that we should include in the presentation.
Not bowling, basketball, was I wrong?
No, you're correct. Yeah, that was Naismith in Springfield. Yeah, the Hall of Fame is still there. So before we go, Therapy Gardens, if you go to our website, I should just say I was maybe a month and a half ago, I went to a dry cleaner for the first time in like 5 years because I had to go to an event where I actually needed a pressed shirt. And when I went in and I gave the gentleman my shirt, the first question he asked was, what's my email address? And I said, well, I'm not going to give you my email address. I just want my shirt pressed. And then he said, well, what's your phone number? And reflexively, I gave him my phone number like an idiot. I did. And then as I'm driving away from the dry cleaner, I started to get these strange texts. So we share these stories at Therapy Gardens because that just really pisses us off. So if you do go and sign up for our newsletter, we've got a great newsletter. You can find out if we're going to be in other towns or what new workshops we're doing, lots of gardening and recipe stuff. Our vow to you is that nobody ever gets your email address, that we will hold on to it. Any questions at all for me? We should definitely add Friendlies. Right. Friendlies. Wilbraham. The two brothers who started Friendlies, one of them just died in 2019. He was 106. And he actually sold the business. I think he sold the business around 1980 and lived almost another 40 years. And it was originally Friendly. There was no apostrophe S. And that was it at first. There's still a few around. Market Basket as well. Yeah, that would be a good one to include. That's true. Okay. First National? For what, a supermarket? Oh, okay. Yeah, a lot of local supermarkets. Yeah, good point. Okay. Well, thank you very much for coming out, everybody. Thank you. Have a good one.